Hey everyone, thank you for watching today. My name is Mark Kerpiel, and I'm a Customer Success Specialist here at Cisco. And today I want to talk to you more about Splunk AppDynamics and help you get the most out of our product. In today's video, we're going to cover how to make your first browser synthetic script, and this is part of our follow-along series where we'll walk you through step-by-step instructions on how to do various things on our observability tool. So if that sounds interesting, also check out the rest of the series as we build it out. Now, before we go into today's session, I did want to give some prerequisites. In today's session, we are going to be building a script locally and then debugging it. So you have to have Python, pip, the Selenium package, and then a WebDriver. I will show you which WebDriver I use. It's part of a package, but you can use any you prefer. And then I'll be using Visual Studio Code to debug, but you can use any IDE that you prefer. Now, once we finish our script locally, we'll then upload it to AppDynamics, and to do so, you will need one of the following licenses on the page. And if you're licensed for private agents, you do need a PSA agent installed and pointing to your controller for it to work. So now we're going to build our script. So the first thing I'm going to do here is, this is a template that I will give you. This is the template I use to create new synthetic scripts. And then I will link it in our GitHub below. So if you want to use this template or you just want to see what I've done and copy what I make here as a script, please check that out. The first thing we're going to do is navigate to the sauce demo hackernoon.info. And this is our demo site that we're going to be using. This is just a generic demo site that can do a checkout functionality so we can create a full flow. So we've already done our navigating. The next thing we're going to do is enter in our username, password, and then we're going to click login. So we're going to log it into site using password, username, password, and then hit login. Again, we're going to put all our steps into the logging functionality. So when we're looking back at sessions, we can see exactly what's going on. But first thing we're going to do is going to look for our specific username element. So I'm going to inspect our username. See here we have our ID. IDs are usually the best reference point when doing an element. But there's XPaths, class names, and a few other options that I'll show you as we go. But more importantly here, we'll just use username. It's the best functionality, or the best option we have right now. And yeah, like I said, IDs are usually the best indicator for our Selenium scripts because they're unique. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to do send keys. So send keys is just inputting text. So next accepted usernames here you see our standard user. So to do that same action we just did, we'll just hit send keys and then put that in. And then let's find that password input. Just grab that. We're going to put it back into find ID and then send keys. And then there are provided passwords here. So it's going to be that secret sauce. So again, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it the inputs as I go just to show you what we're trying to replicate and also to get to the next steps. So we're going to do that. And then finally, we're going to use a click element functionality. We're going to do a find, look for this login button. So our login button again, we're going to use the ID and then use that login button. So find element by ID, paste in that login button ID, and then we're going to use the false. So for click element, this is again part of my template, but in the click element, false will mean that it does a Selenium script click instead of a JavaScript click. And if you go up here, you can show you what that looks like. So here, if it's true, you'll do a JavaScript first click, and then otherwise you'll do a Selenium click, this element.click. And you guys can, mess around with the template, make any changes you want. This is just what I found that works best. So we did that, we logged in. So far we've done all that. The next thing we're going to do is add something to a cart. So let's add this backpack. And thankfully, the idea is super easy. Add to cart, Sauce Labs backpack. Not a lot of questions there, right? And we'll do exactly what we did there. So we're going to do logging.info. Adding backpack to cart. And the one thing I am going to validate here, because we have it, is this ID, the same backpack. I want to validate that it says remove. So we're going to do find element by ID, text, equals move. We'll just do assert there. And then the next thing we'll do is we're going to go to our checkout functionality. So see here, we have a few options here. You can go click here and then do, this has login, about, all pages. We're going to do this checkout button up here. So if we inspect it, we're going to look for what it looks like. And we're actually going to use class here. So we see that class is kind of the best reference point for this. There's also this ID, div ID container. I don't mind using that as well. But let's try class here since we haven't used class yet, and just to show you what that looks like. Login.info. Clicking on checkout. And then we are going to do click element, find element by class name, and then do false again. Okay. And when the only time I really make this true is if the false isn't working the first time. If the false isn't working and this click element's having issues actually clicking on the element, I would set that to true and see if that fixes the issue. It does fix that issue a lot, but again, I don't run into the issue very often. So it's not the first thing I'll try. Okay, so we manually clicked it out, and then the next thing we're going to do is click checkout. So nice and easy again. The ID is checkout. Logging.info. Checkout. Class. Oh, sorry, not class, ID. And again, just false. Okay. So we'll hit click checkout on manually, and then we're going to enter a first name, last name, and zip code. So first name, and I'm just going to see if I can. There you go. So this is all, sorry. So yeah, this is all the IDs. I'm going to try to just memorize that to make it a little faster. Info, entering first, last name, and zip code. Element by ID. I think we already pasted it, and then send keys. Fast. Okay. So last name, we'll just send test again, make it easy. Obviously, you want to change that depending on how you want to do testing. And then zip code, and then we'll just do 5 zeros. I think we spelled that right. Oh, no, it's postal code. So good thing we checked. And then I'm going to manually put that in to make sure invalidate it works. 5. Continue. And then we'll hit finish here. So we could do some verification on the screen. I won't do it this time. But this would be a good time to do assertions, make sure everything looks all right, payment information, shipping. But we'll look for this ID finish. Clicking on finish. Okay. Let's see if we want to do one more step. So let's do that. We're going to inspect this and look for this thanks for order to verify we're done. So I'm looking for an ID, or again, something more identifiable. We can do with this thank you for order and do a link text. We can look for this image. I like that this says checkout complete container. I like that simplicity of the container. Now, if that was the same container name as a false order, then we'd be worried. But in this case, it's not. So I'm just going to use that. So we'll say verify. We're going to use login.info, verifying order completion. And find element by ID. And then there we go. Okay. And then now, so we created our script from start to finish. So we logged into our site. We added our backpack to cart, did a checkout, and then verified that our order completion was done. The next thing let's do is actually try to run this locally and see if it works. So now we're going to start debugging this. The first thing we do is add a breakpoint here for logging navigation. This is for your sake, so I can show you the window before I continue. So let me show you what that window will look like. This is a blank window before it navigates. And then let's hit continue and see what this does. So we see that we logged in, we added it to cart, and now it looks like it's frozen. Usually when you see this frozen, you kind of know, okay, something's going on, see what happens. So we see this in object is not callable. And this is the portion that we're checking for. So this is the assertion that we're trying to look for. The assert find element equals to remove. I already kind of know the issue here, but this is a good time to start debugging. But let's look at that element again and see what's going on. So if we inspect it again, we see the actual ID is remove Sauce Lab backpack, not that add. It changed after we clicked, but we didn't notice that, or I didn't notice it when I first made the script. So let's fix that. So let's change it to that remove Sauce backpack, and then let's restart it again. So I'll give you guys at the window. Let's hit play again and see what happens. So you see, we went to the next step. We entered the it's called the first name, last name, and the zip code. And then again, we're getting stuck here. So what's going on? Let's go back here. And then I immediately can tell, right? So it's the step that's failing is that we're looking for this finish button. The problem is the finish button isn't on the screen. It's on the next one. And I forgot to put the continue button. So let's fix that. So we're going to do click elements, find by ID. Let's look for that ID. See that it says continue, the name of it. Again, we'll set to false. And then we will reset the script. And then hopefully for our final time, I will show you what our script looks like locally. So we'll hit continue again. Let's see what our script does. So we added it to cart, we checked out, we hit that continue, and then we verified the thank you for your order. Now it's not closing yet, but the last thing we said, again, verifying order completion. So it looks like we are good to go. And then I will now show you how to import this now into AppDynamics. So now we're going to import our script into AppDynamics. So we're on our EUM application, and we're going to hit add here for our synthetic script. Click run a script. We're going to name it. So we're going to do checkout Sauce Labs. We'll paste the script that we made in there. And then in my specific template, I show you what to comment out when comparing local to running it on AppDynamics. Because AppDynamics already does the WebDriver, we can comment this import out for a Chrome driver. As well, we're going to comment where we set the Chrome driver down below. So this is line 215 if you're using the same exact script. So we'll comment out these following lines. And again, with the template, it tells you exactly what to do. Then we'll set some locations. So again, the more the better, specific to your application, obviously. If you only have users from the US and you never have any international, it might make sense to only use US locations. But when using, it's good to use as many locations as you should, because then you can isolate issues depending on what region might be affecting your application. You have the option between all locations every time or round robin. Usually you're going to use round robin, but it depends on how frequent you want your script to run. Then you can set a schedule. We're going to be boring and do a simple schedule of 15 minutes. But we could change our time zone, do certain timing between. Maybe we only want off hours, or maybe we only want on hours. The reason you might want to do off hours is, let's say we have plenty of traffic through the day. We're already doing EUM browser real user monitoring. So we only want to test it during those off hours. And then you can do it on certain days. So let's say you don't have a lot of traffic on the weekends and we only want the synthetic job to run then to kind of fill in for that. That could be another use case. We'll select our browser. In our case, we're just going to use the latest version of Chrome. You could select a mobile device like an iPhone to simulate a mobile web browser, or Firefox or Internet Explorer here. We could test different internet speeds and see how that affects our application, different timeout periods, and you can see the amount of sessions and the license blocked here. You can configure any availability rules, and then you can configure some performance thresholds. We're not going to do any of this today, but I'll get into this in future videos. So we'll hit save here. Once saved, it'll create a new job, and then you're going to wait a few minutes and then check if the sessions look correct. Now I have the power of editing and I've already done this, so we're going to click into the session here. This is the same exact script, and let's see what this looks like. So the first thing we notice here is our session last screenshot. You can see that we did our checkout correct and it looks right visually. We can also look on the waterfall and see if there's anything that looks incorrect in terms of resources. Again, we can look at our screenshots that we've taken. And then I know it was a lot to add the logging. Look how nice this is. We can see exactly which steps our script made here using this show script output. And then everything looks correct. It looks like we navigated, clicked on checkout, entered our first, last name and zip code, clicked on finish, and then verified our order completion. So everything looks great there, and we are good to go. We made our first synthetic script. Just to summarize, in today's video, I showed you how to make your first Selenium Python synthetic script, then how to debug it, and then how to import that on AppDynamics. If you enjoyed today's video, please check out the rest of our channel, where we cover everything observability. We also have specific playlists you can check out. You can do a playlist covering what we covered today, including synthetics and our CS lab follow-alongs. And I want to thank you so much for watching our video today. We really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed it, feel free to like and subscribe. We're continuously pumping out new content, and you liking and subscribing shows us and motivates us to make more. So thank you so much.